Let's cross live now to Julia Chapman, who joins us from Moscow. Hi, Julia. Please give us some clarity on what really is going on here. I mean, Medvedev did not resign in protest of the government. There's a strategy here.
There certainly is, although nobody's entirely sure what that strategy is. Prime Minister Medvedev and the entire Russian government has resigned after the announcement from President Putin that he wants to make a number of constitutional changes. And in a statement that Prime Minister Medvedev released to the Russian media, he said that his resignation and the resignation of the rest of the government was in order to allow for those changes to be made. But it's unclear why the government needed to resign in order for those changes to take place. President Putin, in his annual address to the legislature of Russia, the Federal Assembly today, outlined a number of changes that he has proposed to the Russian constitution, which he says he's going to put to a vote, possibly a referendum that could take place as early as this year. And it's widely seen here in Russia as a move to solidify his position in power at the end of this presidential term, because his term comes to an end in 2024, after which time he will have served 4 presidential terms and 1 term as prime minister in between. And he's unable to serve another consecutive presidential term at the end of this one. So there's been enormous amount of speculation as to what he could end up doing at the end of 2024. And this certainly has given us some indication of what that could entail. He had announced today that he wants to give a parliament more power, give the prime minister more power, and put some restrictions on any successor of his in the presidential post. So that's giving some indication of what he might want to do next in 2024.
Right, Julia. I mean, this all seems eerily similar in a way to what happened a little over a decade ago when President Putin changed the roles of prime minister and president with Dmitry Medvedev in order for him to really hold on to power longer than the law permitted him then.
Yes, that's right. And this appears to be another attempt at sort of fudging the situation and trying to make some changes in order to be most beneficial to President Putin when he comes to an end of this presidential term. Because after having been in power for so long, this year, in fact, marks 20 years since he was first elected as president in 2000. And of course, he has been a major figure in the lives of many Russians, particularly young Russians who know no other leader. And so, of course, he wants to maintain his grip on power. He doesn't appear to be trying to stay or try to change the constitution in a way that would allow him to stay as president. That would involve a completely new constitution, and there were rumors that a new constitution could be drafted if Russia united with Belarus. That speculation appears to have died down after today's announcements. It's now looking much more likely that President Putin will, at the end of this term, either become prime minister once again, like he did in 2008, or become the head of the Russian Security Council. And interestingly, after the announcement that Prime Minister Medvedev had resigned from the post of prime minister, it was announced that President Putin had made him the deputy head of the Russian Security Council. So certainly giving some sort of indication as to what could be happening in the future. What we don't understand yet is why this is happening now, why the government has decided that now is the moment to resign.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Julia. We'll be joining you, of course, in the hours to come to get further clarity on the situation developing out of Moscow.